Oh. 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 गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरु साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः अखण्डमण्डलाकारं व्याप्तं येन चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम् ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये just give me 2 seconds, Brahmaraji. The documents what you have shared on group just now and the previous one also, they are all blank. I'm trying to
Yeah,
download.
maybe you'll need to retrieve it from the email that I sent. The second document I sent is okay. You can open that.
Yeah, just give me 2 seconds. Yeah.
Actually, all of us have the PDF from before. I just posted it. For some reason, it is not downloading to be
Yeah,
posted
I
in the
tried
WhatsApp group.
yesterday also. I tried yesterday night, but I could not download even from our previous text what we had. Uh, I'm trying to download from the site only now, but my printed copy I forgot in India. Otherwise, I would have started chanting. Anybody is able to open the document what Brahmaraji has sent, or maybe from the previous, are they able to retry? Because the second from the site also, I'm not able to.
Brahmaraji, actually, Bhaja Govindam was also not able to download me. I didn't able to download, and for this also, it is not opening this document.
Yeah, from email also, I'm trying.
It comes as a blank pages.
Yeah, but I'm trying from the site only directly from the
Okay,
shloka site.
I'm just reading from I'm chanting from the email. You can go to your email. I think there it's openable. Pratah smarami hridisam spuradaatmatattvam Satchit sukham paramaham sagatim turiyam Yad swapna jagara sushuptamaveti nityam Tad brahma nishkalamaham na cha bhuta sangha. In the early hours of the day, I meditate upon the essential self, clearly experienceable in the heart cave, that which is existence, knowledge, bliss in nature, that which is the supreme goal, the Paramahamsa state, that which is the fourth plane of consciousness, which constantly illumines all experiences in the dream, waking, and deep sleep conditions. I am that partless Brahman, not this assemblage of matter envelopments. Matter envelopments is Bhuta Sanghaha, Nacha Bhuta Sang, Tad Brahma Nishkalamaham, Nacha Bhuta Sanghaha. No scientific textbook can be prescribed to the students without an initial chapter. Oh, sorry, I want to share this. Huh? Sorry, I'm so sorry. Just give me a second.
Brahmaraji, email also is not opening. There is no attachment in email.
No, there is an attachment. I've just opened from that attachment only. Just give me a second. I'm sorry. I was not on my computer on Zoom. I'm not sharing. Let me share it.
But don't we have, each one of us must be having the hard copy also?
Yeah, I was having, but I forgot it in India. I have the text, printed text.
Yeah, I find it easier reading the text. I
Very
always
true. Even for me also, it is same. Hard copy is better.
I've done all the printouts from the PDF into hard copies, so it's just so much collection now.
Okay, you all can see this, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll just start one more time. Pratasmarami hridisam spuradaatmatattvam Satchit sukham paramaham sagatim turiyam Yad swapna jagara sushuptamaveti nityam Tad brahma nishkalamaham na cha bhuta sanghaha. In the early hours of the day, I meditate upon the essential self, clearly experienceable in the heart cave, that which is existence, knowledge, bliss in nature, that which is the supreme goal, the Paramahamsa state, that which is the fourth plane of consciousness, which constantly illumines all experiences in the dream, waking, and deep sleep conditions. I am that partless Brahman, not this assemblage of matter envelopments. No scientific textbook can be prescribed to the students without an initial chapter giving the definition of the terms and terminologies that are used in the body of the book. The scientist visualizes the world from his viewpoint. He sees truths that are not visible to others. And since he sees visions which are not the common property of all, in his language, he will have to use unconventional words which have for him some special imports and secret suggestions. If these extraordinary words are not rightly understood by the teacher and the taught, transference of knowledge would be impossible. Therefore, in every textbook of science, the first few chapters describe the categories. Sufferings and sorrows form a part of life's game. There is none who has not undergone pressing agonies in his own day-to-day life, either physically, mentally, or emotionally. Yet, nobody seems to invite them. All that we do is to avoid, as far as possible, this aspect of life coming in contact with us. The more we want to escape its cruel jaws, the more it takes an endless variety of subtler and sharper ways of attacking. Physical ailments form but one tribe of hordes that barbarously attack us. Even more relentless and cruel are our mental sufferings. As we progress in our knowledge of the curative processes for ameliorating the physical sufferings, we observe that the mind's ill health affects the body much more than what one could imagine. As we progress in our knowledge of the curative processes for ameliorating the physical sufferings, we observe that the mind's ill health affects the body much more than what one could imagine. And this kind of suffering proves all the more difficult to deal with. Mental disintegration is more dangerous, for it brings about not only misery to the sufferer, but a kind of dangerous disharmony in an excruciating intolerance with the surroundings of such an individual. So, mental disintegration is more dangerous, for it brings about not only misery to the sufferer, but a kind of dangerous disharmony in and excruciating intolerance with the surroundings of such an individual. On the whole, it means each one of us who is suffering, and is there anyone who is not? From this inner malady is an unhappy center spreading all around him unhappiness and restlessness. A solution to these problems, very complicated and extremely confusing to the average mind, is what we seek individually and collectively. The results of such investigations conducted by the ancient enquirers and the data collected from their personal experiences constitute the bulk of our scriptures. Today, instead of searching for any radical solution and specific cure for this problematic disease and consequent suffering in life, what man actually does in society is to collect around him various kinds of escape distractions and compromise dopes through all kinds of foul methods. He vainly hopes to drown his sorrows in ever so many unhealthy indulgences. By these methods, at best, man succeeds in turning his mind away from the actual facts of life as they are. To analyze scientifically and to observe closely the nature and behavior of our outer world of objects and the inner instruments of experience in us are the methods employed in the Upanishads by which the seers have discovered a happy solution for the great problems of man and his life. I'm just going to repeat this one here. So today, instead of searching for any radical solution and specific cure for this problematic disease and consequent suffering in life, what man actually does in society is to collect around him various kinds of escape distractions. This is to be marked escape distractions and compromise dopes through all kinds of foul methods. He vainly hopes to drown his sorrows in ever so many unhealthy indulgences. By these methods, at best, man succeeds in turning his mind away from the actual facts of life as they are, to analyze scientifically and to observe closely the nature and behavior of our outer world of objects and the inner instruments of experience in us are the methods employed in the Upanishads by which the seers have discovered a happy solution for the great problems of man and his life. This is exactly what we learned in Bhajagovinda, where the nature and behavior of the outer world of objects was so beautifully presented in the temporary nature of the world of objects, of wealth, of women, of relationships, and how the inner instruments, how to get to the inner instruments, how to use them through those methods of practicing karma yoga, of satsanga, of doing swadhyaya, of reading the Bhagavad Gita, of doing Shastra Patana, and going to a guru. Vedanta is the science of life. It explains the art of living. It points out the perfect goal of existence and provides schemes and methods by which sincere seekers can make their pilgrimage easily successful. Since the teacher has to point out a goal transcending the ordinary realms of experiences, he has to borrow his vocabulary from the everyday language and present them, no doubt, strangely dressed up in special significances. Naturally, the obvious dictionary meaning will not be a true guidance in digesting and assimilating the declarations of the scriptures. The golden key by which the scriptures are opened and its divine knowledge brought out is found in the books like Atma, which explain exhaustively the categories in Vedanta. Such volumes are called the Prakarana books. What are the other Prakarana granthas? Tattva Bodh is one of them. Atma Bodh is one of them.
Vivek Chudamani also.
Also, yeah.
I think there are 5 Prakarana books.
Maybe even Panchadashi, I'm not sure whether Panchadashi is also included.
Yeah, Panchadasi also included, I think. Prakarana Granthas. The
Prakarana is
Bhagavandam is like more like introductory text, but not Prakarana Granthas. Actually, it's here, some of the examples in the next paragraph. Panchadashi, Viveka Chudamani, Tattva Bodha, Atma Bodha, some of the examples.
one is, I think, Aparokshanubhuti. Is it so? Aparokshanubhuti. This is also by Shankaracharya only. Aparokshanubhuti. Vivek Chudamani. Then Tattvabodh, Atmabodh. And I think one more, 5, I remember 5 Nanaji told us.
Yeah, I don't know the full list. Never mind, we'll go forward. Huh? Yeah, I think it's given here in the next paragraph. Let's go. So, knowledge available in the world of books is found in 2 types of records: textbooks of the science explaining the theory and technique are called the Shastras, and the books that explain the terms and terminologies used in the Shastra books are called the Prakarana books. Panchadashi, Viveka Chudamani, Tattva Bodh, Atma Bodh are some of the examples of the latter type of books. They explain the Shastra and they do not contribute any original thought. So the Shastras are the textbooks of science explaining the theory and technique. They're called Shastra. And the books that explain the terms and terminologies used in the Shastra are called Prakarana books. Like basically introductory books, like books of terminologies, of definitions. So they don't have any original thought, unlike the Shastras. Sri Shankara took upon himself as his life's great mission the reorientation of Hinduism. After having written his commentaries upon the sacred books of our culture, he provided the seekers with a voluminous devotional literature, singing his own love of the Lord. In the days of his perfect maturity, he took up his pen to write introductory books, introducing the theme of Vedanta for the infants in the spiritual world. Atma bodha is one of them. This is not an original book inasmuch as there is not a single idea in it which is an entirely original contribution of Sri Shankara. Every one of them is called from the garden of the Upanishads and strung together on the cord of his poetry, interspersed with his exquisite similes. This wonderful garden so offered by Shankara to adorn Mata Shruti is Atma bodha. As a modern materialistic man comes to study more and more the contents of the Upanishad, it is possible that he feels cheated of the cheaper joys of his previous, easier life of mental distractions and physical dissipations. This negative feeling of a nameless, sad regret saps out all enthusiasm in the student. But this feeling comes only so long as one has not fully realized the fact that the usual Broadway distractions have a knack of wearing away too soon their enchanting fascinations. One quickly gets bored of such superficialities. An intelligent person very quickly loses all his attractions for such things. He discovers that his mind has a tendency to fly away from all its objects of entertainment and come to torment itself by its own thoughts that are indeed very unpleasant for itself. A man of indiscriminate intellect never questions why it is so, but instead he hurriedly discovers a new set of excitements and a fresh pattern of distractions to engage his mind's momentary fancy. He may even turn to God of the usual formalistic religions, visit churches, mosques, or temples, give away something in charity, build a house of God or a hospital, run to a hall of sermons, and even take up to some forms of prayer. But all of them are again to him a new variety of distraction to keep his mind away from weeping at itself and thus escape its own suicidal brutalities. This is such a powerful paragraph. I will just read this one more time. So, this negative feeling of a nameless sad regret. I'll read the other para as well. As a modern materialistic man comes to study more and more the contents of the Upanishad, it is possible that he feels cheated of the cheaper joys of his previous easier life. Previous easier life is the materialistic life of mental distractions and physical dissipations. This negative feeling of a nameless sad regret saps out all enthusiasm in the student. But this feeling comes only so long as one has not fully realized the fact that the usual Broadway distractions have a knack of wearing away too soon their enchanting fascinations. I think it should be Broadway distractions. One gets quickly bored of such superficialities. An intelligent person very quickly loses all his attractions for such things. He discovers that his mind has a tendency to fly away from all its objects of entertainment and come to torment itself by its own thoughts that are indeed very unpleasant for itself. So, when you, as a sadhak, when you're retrieving yourself, you're doing pratyahara, you're removing yourself from the world of sense objects, the mind starts, there's a possibility that the mind starts tormenting you because it is within itself, but it starts getting a lot of thoughts which are unpleasant. So, a man of indiscriminate intellect never questions why it is so, but instead he hurriedly discovers a new set of excitements and a fresh pattern of distractions to engage his mind's momentary fancy. So instead of inquiring, why is the mind having so many thoughts? Why am I having all this sadness or frustration within? He hooks himself onto another distraction. And this distraction may be even in the form of turning to God, of the usual formalistic religions, visit churches, mosques, or temples, give away something in charity, build a house of God or a hospital, run to a hall of sermons, and even take up to some forms of prayer. So all this in a bundle, Swamiji talks of as mental distractions. A fresh pattern of mental distractions just to take care of his mind's momentary fancy. But all of them are again to him a new variety of distraction to keep his mind away from weeping at itself and thus escape its own suicidal brutalities. People who follow thus religion as an escape from themselves, ultimately come to gain nothing except perhaps a lingering sorrow dulled by a blind faith that benumbs his very capacity to perceive his own tragedies of life. Scientific detachment, honest observation, logical conclusions, and heroic decisions alone can help an individual to come away from his own life's fallacies. Atma bodha supplies all these requisites, and Shankara has made the scientific treatise a chiseled beauty with a distinct cadence and rhythm of its own. I'm repeating the previous para. People who follow thus religion as an escape from themselves ultimately come to gain nothing except perhaps a lingering sorrow dulled by a blind faith. See, faith is always to be with a bit of inquiry. It should not be a blind faith. Shraddha has to be along with vichara, along with viveka. So that benumbs his very capacity to perceive his own tragedies of life. Scientific detachment. So this is the method that Swamiji is talking about. Scientific detachment, honest observation, logical conclusions, and heroic decisions alone can help an individual to come away from his own life's fallacies. Atma bodha supplies all these requisites, and Shankara has made this scientific treatise a chiseled beauty with a distinct cadence and rhythm of its own. The poet in Shankara is let loose in these 68 stanzas. No verse is here which has not one simile or other. Each is a picture, a sure and striking example. These examples are real hammer strokes that nail the elusive Vedantic ideals onto the immature comprehension of all early students. They are all such striking examples, so pregnant with suggestions that to ruminate upon them is in itself a profitable meditation for the new initiates. May the infinite effulgence, the silent witness of all our actions, bless us all. Swami Chinmayananda.
That Ramana, earlier you read that the religious something, right? That can you go back to that line?
Right.
Beautiful English, beautiful English. That itself like a poem.
Yeah. Dr. Chinmaya, Swami Chinmaya's handwriting is so nice. His writing.
So this is the one you're talking of, an intelligent.
The question I have is, I understand. I mean, you don't want to go with the blind faith, but religion where we start. But then again, like as you said, like with the Shraddha and Vichara, why you do what you do, so it also helps to for the Antakarana Shuddhi, right?
Yes. So basically, he's urging us to do it with awareness, with that analysis, with an inquiring mind.
But
See,
not doing it
yeah,
blindly.
not doing it blindly.
Okay.
Basically, he's asking us to do all of this out of love, not for love. See, your mind is not what you don't want to look at your dirty mind. You, as a sadhak, you may have withdrawn yourself a little from the world of objects, but the mind inside keeps tormenting you. You have your own vasanas, your tendencies, impressions. They keep coming back to you. The way you think may be faulty. You might be building stories about people, about relationships. So all that is that mental junk that is going on. So instead of facing it directly, what we do, what an indiscriminate person does is to seek another distraction. Hurriedly, he seeks a distraction because he is timid. He does not want to look at his dirty mind. So therefore, he finds some solace in maybe visiting a temple. It's a distraction. It's a temporary distraction.
But
Swamiji
there
is
was
not
another
mentioning.
paragraph. You also read something also. Anyway, go ahead.
You tell me if you want me to repeat anything. So what I understood is,
yeah,
this
this
is
one
not.
I get it. Yeah, so you're getting some, distraction in relationship with
With your mind.
with the
With
mind.
respect to the mind, you're hooking yourself again to something outwardly. As in you're visiting a temple, or maybe you're going to a satsang. Swamiji is not saying all this is not right. He's saying doing this indiscriminately, doing this without scientific observation, scientific analysis, and yeah. I'll read these
But
two paras again.
one thing I wanted to say, it is initially it would be this form of distraction. You want to distract your mind from the various problems, and you shift your mind to that. But it is said so in Vedanta Shastra also that the abhyasa which you do, which you repeatedly commit yourself to do, it will show its effect later on as you walk on this path. So initially it was started with a distracted mind, but later on it will lead us to a steady mind. And with it will, though it is done mechanically initially, but later on it will have its own effects on us.
That is
Doing that
okay.
antakarna shuddhi, yeah.
I completely agree with you. That is okay for a non-sadhak. But for for those that are already seeking and have started, continuing to do it mechanically makes no sense.
No
It's only a
sense.
waste of
That's
time,
right.
right? After
Yeah.
you have been exposed to this knowledge, after you've been told what is real, what is not real, what is
Yes.
permanent, is not permanent, you have some inkling. Swamiji is talking of a sadhak. If you remember in the beginning, he's talked about a person who is already exposed to this. I'll just go there. See, as modern materialistic man comes to study more and more the contents of the Upanishad, it is possible that he feels cheated of the cheaper joys of his previous easier life. So he's already talking of a sadhak who's started reading the Upanishads, is onto this path. This negative feeling of a nameless sad regret saps out all enthusiasm in the student. But this feeling comes only so long as one has not fully realized the fact that the usual Broadway distractions have a knack of wearing away too soon their enchanting fascinations. So one quickly gets bored of these such superficiality. So all of us are in that boat, more or less, right? We know
Yeah.
the outer world of objects is only superficial. So an intelligent person very quickly loses all his attractions for such things. He discovers that his mind has a tendency to fly away from all its objects of entertainment and come to torment itself by its own thoughts that are indeed very unpleasant for itself. So he's talking of a sadhak who's already kind of relinquished the world of objects, so to say. He's not giving so much of importance. He has some measure of dhamma. There is some dhamma, he's got some self control. But when he looks at his mind, the mind is still, the antakarana shuddhi has not happened still enough. So there is still some mental agony going on because of his vasanas, because of his thought processes. In that sense, at that point, a man of indiscriminate intellect never questions why it is so. So instead of asking ourselves and inquiring, why is it so? But instead, he hurriedly discovers a new set of excitements and a fresh pattern of distractions to engage his mind's momentary fancy. He may even turn to God of the usual formalistic religions, visit churches, mosques, or temples, give away something in charity, build a house of God. All this he's talking of basically is that we should do some form of manana and nididhyasana. These are two important things to do. Instead of doing nididhyasana, if you are just engaging your mind in doing any of these, they only become an escape route.
True.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Atma Bodha is asking us to do that manana and nididhyasana.
Yeah.
But
And then this,
yeah,
can you read this? People who follow this religion as an escape?
But I think this
Wise
will be
man,
the
intelligent
first.
man.
yeah, a man of
That will be the
indiscriminate
first step, I
intellect.
think. You know.
No, not there, Dr. Brahmara. The next paragraph, the people who follow.
Yeah, people who follow thus
Mm.
religion as an escape from themselves ultimately come to gain nothing except perhaps a lingering sorrow dulled by a blind faith that benumbs his very capacity to perceive his own tragedies of life. I mean, giving an example, supposing one of us is feeling sad because we've not had a great, maybe with your spouse or with someone, your friend, you've had an argument and you're feeling bad inside. So instead of inquiring, why am I feeling bad? What is the reason? It is because the ego got hurt. Instead of doing that scientific analysis, in order to get out of that sadness, you just go and sit in a satsang or maybe listen to a sermon. Maybe temporarily that is kind of benumbing it. It is taking care of that sadness. But have you actually taken care of the root cause? That root is still there. After you finish
Yeah.
whatever distractions you've gone to, it'll come back again. You'll
The
again get
mind still be agitated, right? It
yeah.
not come down. Mm.
It is like you want to escape some
Yeah.
an unpleasant situation, and you go for a holiday, but you're
The
carrying your
problem,
mind there.
yeah, the problem doesn't get resolved, so
All.
it's not going to give you peace of mind.
It will not.
Then
So
So we need
yeah.
to process it inside completely
Others are
and then
spared.
surrender, I think. We need to process it inside first
Exactly.
completely
Right.
and then surrender it and then the things will remain, but the emotional quotient which was associated with that will diminish for sure, unless until we process it inside.
The processing is important. Only then will you, even that lesha, even that rasa of that thing will be taken away if we process it. Otherwise, that rasa will continue. That little, like if you put garlic in a vessel, like what Nana had given example. If you put garlic in a vessel, you've removed the garlic, but that smell will still be there. So removing the garlic is like finding a distraction. It may have seemingly gone away, but that the remnants of that will continue. And that is what Swamiji is mentioning here. Will perhaps, so ultimately they come to gain nothing except perhaps a lingering sorrow dulled by a blind faith that benumbs his very capacity to perceive his own tragedies of life. Now he's giving us the roadmap, scientific detachment. Vairagya is not just Vairagya. Scientifically, with analysis, you understand, oh, this is not permanent, which is permanent.
Teenagers, when they come for the S plus course, even in the satsang, they want to have a lot of fun. It is not the devotional part of it. Even the satsang may continue instead of 1 hour in an advanced course, it will continue for 1.5 hours because they want a little more. But after that, also, they want to have a campfire and midnight satsang sort of thing. So they wanted to go up till 12 o'clock, which we don't allow. But the point is that many of them come full of sorrow and they say that my life is finished. And internally, you say, what life is finished? Hardly started now. You're still in your teenagers. But some girlfriend, boyfriend problem or something like that over there. But then they are into knowledge, and then maybe they have started off like this for having fun, switching over. But then slowly, with the knowledge that we give them, what Gurudev gives them, they slowly come on the path. Now, initially, they enter it with only this feeling of having fun. For them, this is something new. That is switch over.
True. That's very true. Here, the student who is being talked of is a sadhak who is already introduced into Vedanta, who's already started on this path. It's not a new initiate, not someone who's just come onto the path. He's already doing some form of reading of Upanishads. He's learning the Vedanta. Like all of us, I think this is actually addressing all of us. So when such is the case, you've got some semblance of the truth. You've got some intellectual concept of the truth. We've not all realized the truth yet. And when such is the case, when we're going through some mental difficulties, physically we've all withdrawn from the world of objects, but mentally we still have not. We still have that the muck inside the mind to clear up, to clean up. So instead of heroically facing that muck, that dirty mind, and saying, okay, I'm just going to understand why it is, process why it is happening, and therefore then root out the root cause of the mental agony. Like, for example, you've not accepted some person and you are tossing and turning. With knowledge, with analysis, you can understand. That is how his nature is. That is the nature of his behavior. So out of understanding, when you accept, and you accept not just physically, it's all even mentally, deep within, you have made that acceptance, then you are relieved. Then you have kind of cleaned up a little bit of your mental dust, isn't it? So I think this is targeting those that are already exposed to the Vedanta. But I agree with all what you, Persiji, you and Dr. Savita said. Initially, it is important to get to this place. It is important for them to at least do it. Come to the satsang. Doesn't matter whether they're inquiring, doing all this analysis. Let them just come to the satsang to get their samskaras, so that they slowly, little by little, start understanding, and then they get out of the world of objects. So scientific detachment, honest observation, logical conclusions, and heroic decisions alone can help an individual to come away from his own life's fallacies. Atma bodha supplies all these requisites, and Shankara has made this scientific treatise a chiseled beauty with a distinct cadence and rhythm of its own. For instance, money still can be a point of contention, even for a sadhak, even for one of us who's onto this path. We might give so much importance to money that it still holds us back. And yeah, understanding what it is. Therefore, there comes the scientific detachment, honest observation, logical conclusions. These have to be underlined and repeated, actually. Should we move forward? Dr. Mara, do you wanted me to repeat? You got the para that you want?
Yes. Yeah. In the end of the, like, yeah, I got that one. And what it pretty much the this is the introduction, right? Yeah, I got that. Thank you.
So these examples are striking examples, so pregnant with suggestions that to ruminate upon them is in itself a profitable meditation for the new initiates.
Yeah. So is it 68 stands?
68 verses, yeah.
68 verses, okay. Yeah. So this is
Tapo bhikshina papanam shantanam vitaraginam mumukshunam apekshoyam atma bodho vidhiyate. Tapobhihi, by austerities, kshina papanam, for those who have purified themselves, shantanam, for those who are calm, vitaraginam, for those who are free from cravings, mumukshunam, for those who are desirous of liberation, apekshaha, worthy of attending, ayam, this, atma bodha, knowledge of the self, vidhiyate, being composed by me. See, in Bhajagovindam, he is goading people who are doing all other things to get to the Shastra, to get onto the path. But here, it is for those people who are already Kshina Papana, who have purified themselves, Tapobihi, by austerities, Shantanam, who are calm, Vitaragina, for those who are free from cravings, Mumukshunam, for those who are desirous of liberation, Apekshaha, worthy of attending. Tapobihi kshina papanam shantanam vitaraginam mumukshunam apekshaha ayam atmabodaha vidhiyate. I am composing the Atmabodha, this treatise of the knowledge of the self, for those who have purified themselves by austerities and are peaceful in the heart and calm, who are free from cravings and are desirous of liberation. As a preamble, Sri Shankara, the great world teacher, himself a person of full realization, lays down certain qualifications for those who wish to take up the study of this text. The stanza also indicates the 4 aspects of the theme discussed, technically called the Anubandha Chatushtayam. Such an introduction is justified when we recognize that Sri Shankara was prescribing here an easy textbook. As he himself was a true educationist, he knew what type of students he has in his mind to whom he wanted to deliver the lessons. A high-sounding style, erudite discussions, elaborate argumentations, etc. would be useless in serving the ordinary students who have discovered in themselves a growing enthusiasm to understand a little of the Vedantic philosophy. In the stanza, the term Atmabodha suggests the subject dealt with. So this is the Anubandha Chatushtaya that he's talking about here. The term Atma bodha suggests the subject dealt with. The word mumukshu, that is seeker of burning aspirations, suggests that the object aimed at is the emancipation of the individuality from all its sense of bondage. And those who are fit for the study of this text are those who have all the four qualifications. 1. Discrimination of the real and the unreal, that is viveka. B. Detachment from the unreal, this is vairagya. C. The sixfold wealth of goodness such as calmness, etc. And lastly, that is the Shamadhi Shat Sampatti. Lastly, the compelling desire for self-rediscovery. This is the mumukshutva. One can claim to have read volumes of books and exhausted a library full of the printed matter from its shelves, yet he may still be useless in the practical application of his knowledge. In the study of philosophy, a mere book knowledge will be ineffective when the man of study enters the field of activities. Every earnest seeker must digest the knowledge gained until they grow in him into convictions which can then be translated into actions. So jnana is to become vijnana. You have to digest that knowledge so much so that it becomes, they become so strong convictions when can be translated into actions. When a book is written by a teacher, it is always intended for a certain type of student he has in his mind. Every textbook is addressed to a certain class of students having some given qualities. They alone will be most benefited by that given textbook. In the opening stanza of the Atma Bodh, Shankara is trying to explain who are to be his audience, whom alone he is addressing in this tiny book. Every attempt at living in self-control in all our contacts with the outer world, wherein all the efforts are dedicated for the high purpose of evolving ourselves into a diviner being, is called tapas. I'll repeat this. Every attempt at living in self-control in all our contacts with the outer world, wherein all the efforts are dedicated for the high purpose of evolving ourselves into a diviner being, is called tapas. From pilgrimage and fasting to japa and dhyana, all spiritual endeavors at self-control are different types of tapas. Through these methods, one's sins, papas, become weaker. Sin is not an action in itself. So, from pilgrimage and fasting to japa and dhyana. Now we have to understand here. Earlier, Swamiji has mentioned that some people even take to distractions like ritualistic prayers and going to pilgrimages and all that. But here it is coming from an understanding. So all this form part of tapas that include pilgrimages, japa, dhyana. These are all types of self-control, right? So through these methods, what happens is one's sins, papas, become weaker. Sin is not an action in itself, but it is the tendency, vasana, to live and think negatively, which is left over in our mind as a result of our own wrong actions. What a beautiful definition of sin. Sin is not an action in itself, but it is the tendency, vasana, to live and think negatively, which is left over in our mind as a result of our own wrong actions. These sinful tendencies become weak when, for a time, we practice self-control. So, Papa actually begins as our own wrong actions. It is the result of our wrong actions which let our mind think and live negatively. And that is the tendency to do this is Papa. So basically, we should start from doing right actions. When does that happen? When we start practicing self-control. Like, for example, when you're doing japa, the time that you're doing japa, you will not be engaged in doing something not useful. Like you will at least not be doing something which might be a wrong action. So japa, dhyana, even as much as going to a pilgrimage. If not, probably you would be doing some other wrongful action, maybe going after wealth or uh, going after some sense pleasure. So therefore, all this, although seemingly is a mental distraction, when it is done with the purpose of doing tapas, of self-control, they become purifying. When we have thus quietened our physical agitations through conscious and divinely dedicated self-control, tapas, the natural result is a growing sense of calmness in the bosom. And when a mind has thus calmed down, in it, the rate of fluctuations created by desires and attachments will also get reduced to a minimum. Like what Prem was saying yesterday, this Angana Angana Antare Madhava, it becomes Madhava Madhava Antare Angana. So the mind becomes calmer, and then there are lesser fluctuations. The rate of fluctuations reduce. An individual who has thus weakened his wrong tendencies through tapas, B, who has consequently found in himself a relatively greater mental calmness, C, in whom the desire agitations are temporarily at rest. If he be the one who is a seeker, sincere seeker, wanting to liberate himself from his known personality shackles, felt in his own within, he is the one who is fit for the study of the Atma bodha. So the eligibility criteria to even open and read Atma bodha is given here very beautifully. So what is the result of tapas? There is a natural sense of calmness in the bosom. And then because of tapas, you have quietened your physical agitations through that self-control. And when the mind is calmed down, that is what because of tapas, using tapas, his wrong tendencies have been weakened. That is, all the vasanas that we have gathered all along have become weakened. One who has consequently found in himself a relatively greater mental calmness. So even the mental disturbances have calmed down. You're not hankering over certain things. You're not craving for things. Your raga dveshas also have kind of settled down. In whom the desire agitations are temporarily at rest. If he be a sincere seeker, for such a person, if he is a sincere seeker, wanting to liberate himself, therefore the mumukshutvam is such an important thing. Otherwise, all your life you can just live like an ethical person. But just being ethical is not liberating. You have to turn, you have to be, convert yourself, should I say that, into a mumukshu. Becoming a mumukshu is such an important eligibility criteria. One who is a sincere seeker wanting to liberate himself from his known personality shackles, felt in his own within, he is the one who is fit for the study of the Atma bodha. This stanza does not disqualify. Yes, please.
Sorry, you finish this and then I'll ask the question.
This stanza does not disqualify anyone from reading and studying the text, but only suggests items of inner adjustments by which a student can make himself better tuned up to the contents of this book and come to understand better the theme discussed in it. Yes. So they're not disqualifying anyone. That is the beauty of our Shastra. They allow, the Shastra has opened its arms to everyone. It does not say it is, but then the qualification is so that we can refine ourselves, so we can make the best use of this text. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so my question is on this. Like the qualification is for our, once we realize what are, we are bound by our own tendencies and we want to come out of it. Now, does everyone have to go through that, or somebody who feels I'm caught up in this, and there are many people like me, can they also suggest, or no? Can they suggest to the others that these are the bondages? Maybe you have experienced or not aware of it yet, but these are the bondages that hold you back. Are we, can we discuss this with somebody who has no idea of all this, but we see them suffering? Or do they have to come to it on their own? Don't know when. I mean, to read Atma bodha, I didn't get it. What you're asking? Not just to read Atma bodha. Yeah, you can suggest people to read Atma bodha, but as just this last paragraph said, anybody can read. Right. What I meant, whether they get it or not is up to them. Yeah. After reading the Atma bodha, what I'm saying is, like, I think some of us have realized that we are caught up, we are bound by our own tendencies, and we know some of the tendencies, and maybe we know how to come out of it. Maybe we don't know how to come out of it. True. And
I
we
think
see,
even if after telling this to somebody, this is the cause or anything, but without that four krupas, Ishwar krupa, Atma krupa, they will not go near to it, I think.
yes, I understand that. What my question is, those who have understood or have had a glimpse of this, can you tell the people who you see are suffering by caught up in their tendencies, can you tell them that this is the problem, that we are caught up in our tendencies and we need to come out of it, and there are some ways? Is that
I
a good
think
way to
this is
suggest,
like
or not at all?
Yeah, by all means, I think everybody should.
yeah,
The whole
everybody should
purpose of the life for human life is to discover ourselves, right? I mean,
yeah,
to
but you need
realize
to be
ourselves.
skillful. You need to be
But
skillful.
then, then they take it or not taking it, it's up to them. But you
Yeah,
can
and
say
we need to
that.
be skillful how we take this Sudarshan Kriya, no? With everyone we connect in a different way to bring them to the path. Same way, it is exactly the same thing. Looking at your own connection, your own state of mind, the person's state of mind, in different ways, we need to communicate them to uplift them and bring them on this path. No? So that thing the continues. That thing will continue depending on the smashan mein baith ke we cannot speak certain things. In the theater we cannot speak certain things. It is like that. Skillfully you need to introduce spirituality in one or the other way. So this one also
You
can be a
just
very powerful tool. This can be a powerful tool to bring people into the path. Like, see, these are the repetitive things which you or we can say we are going through it, and we need to come out of it. How long we are going to do like this, like that? Something trickily, skillfully, we need to speak to the people. Jai Gurudev.
Even if
Thank
people
you.
have come on the path of art of living, they've done the course, they do the kriya. How many of the participants who have done the course with me turn up for the follow-up also, where we give a little bit of knowledge? There also, so many people come on the path, but how many stay on it? And out of the people who stay on it, how many make progress? I started a 9 o'clock batch, 10 o'clock batch. I put it into my groups for Patanjali Yoga Sutras. But out of the people who even do the follow up, how many are interested in knowledge and want to come? So we put in our seva, but forget, like Brahmaraji says, educate and ignore. If they still don't want to come, to make this thing for them, provision for them. Okay, 9 o'clock you can't attend. Okay, I'm giving you a 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock तो अभी serial मत देखो. Come and do some amount of knowledge and just half an hour. But still, even for that half an hour of knowledge, they don't want to come. So there is no force. They will grow at their own rate. Everyone is not interested in spirituality to the extent that we in this group may be, and yet we don't sit in judgment over them. We do not classify them. Everyone will grow. Like they say, in a mild, moderate, and at a fast rate, people have the spirit of inquiry. How they remain as others. How many do sadhana regularly. All that is there. Some are not
Some of
regular.
them,
It also
just little
depends.
bit prana level high, and they are comfortable with that. And they just nice Sudarshan Kriya has given me, I'm feeling so nice from within, and then they are okay with it. Finish. They don't want to go further into spirituality. Their prana level has become high. They are able to handle the situations in their life, and they are able to enjoy the life in a better way and more creative, and then they are okay with that. And when something very something will hit them, and how they will come on this path, we don't know, but we need to little by little, how Percy Bhaiya said, we need to coax them to come on this path. Like
Judgment
that you
over
can
them.
use this tendencies wala and that bondage wala thing also skillfully. If something very powerfully it is coming out with someone, that tendencies are stopping them, or tendencies are becoming the very big obstacle for them, very skillfully you can suggest them. We never know, if suddenly something clicks and dawns in that person, well and good, yeah, best.
See,
We will.
one
Somewhere,
thing is about dealing with them. The other one is what is happening to your own mind. Are you disturbed by all that is happening? So it's also an opportunity for you to look within. I understand the person you're talking about might be someone very close to you, your own, maybe your family member, very close friend. So how much of of him or her not getting onto this path, not coming onto this, is disturbing you? That is what you have to process. Otherwise, your mind, again, see, we might be getting out of the outer world of objects, but in our inner mind, we are still holding on to certain concepts, certain um, desires. I think just be a role model, number one, like what Krishna does, what Gurudev does. If Gurudev had to start feeling bad for everybody who's not on the path, he, like how Percy ji said, there are so many who've done the Sudarshan Kriya. How many actually are following it truly? That way, Gurudev has to be very, very sad looking at how many people are not doing things and how each one is, fritting away their life. But he continues to be a role model, detached, unattached to the results of whatever happens. He continues to spread joy and spread waves of happiness. He continues to meet people. So from that nisang, from that an unattached state, detached state, when you tell them, then slowly but surely it'll happen. When it happens, again, it depends.
Yeah,
The
when they are ready
number of
only, they will be able
yeah,
to take it. Otherwise,
I'm giving you my example.
yeah,
I mean, Nana was telling me the Gita home study from so many years, but it fell on deaf ears for me. But he must have been really pained, but he said it'll take its time. He just told me, and that's it. So when it had to sprout, it sprout. So you continue to do what you're doing and tell them, not that you don't, but then let go. I think let
yeah,
go is the mantra.
yeah. That's a way to take it. It also one is the survival mode. People don't have their basic needs. They can't even think about all these things. One second thing is when they are not ready for, even if you tell them
I mean, it's like your better half or children. Like you said, yeah, I was, when you were like in 40s or 50s, you were so busy with our work. Not, I mean, we may do some routine things, but not really into this. Or you may have had it in your back of your head, like, I wanted to read and get the books time to time when I had vacation, but then not able to pursue it continuously. But then the opportunity came, like now that I'm not working, I'm able to concentrate fully on this. If I tell my kids, they are also in the same mode like we were. So we know they're not going to listen. At least you tell them. It may strike them maybe 10 years from now, whatnot. But at least it's okay to tell your family and people, what is good for them, and it will kind of get there. It will sometime dawn, or in their mind. Oh, I think I should try to look at it and see, read this, or go to satsang and a group of people. Like again, the company of the good is what makes a difference.
Like the
I think
shepherd.
the grace of God, or until unless that is not there, and of course the Kala is not favorable, the things will happen only on that time with His grace.
Yeah, I
Though
mean,
we
obviously
still
it
want
do, but
to,
then you
yeah,
have to make an effort also, right?
effort, yeah, the
To get
desire,
the grace.
desire has to be there, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Unless
the thought, that desire would also need some back force, no? Sometimes I think so. Sometimes I think that free will, which
Atma Krupa will be there, should be there.
yeah, that sometimes that we are given that free will, but sometimes I think the free will is not acting, because even if you want to, you cannot do. So it is some force. Until unless that is not favoring you, your free will also you can't exercise. But yes, we can have a desire, and we can pursue that desire, and when the right time will come, it will be given to us according to our preparedness. Yeah.
It is also the Sangha which we keep. Somewhere in one of the scriptures it is written the four pillars, and one of them is keeping the company of sadhus and saints, that is called Satsanga. And there, these people, like, see, the wife may find it easier to be on the spiritual path, but the husband is away at work, and he is away at work for nearly about 10 hours, maybe even 12 hours. And then, in the company of the people that is moving around with him, they may indulge in alcohol, beer, or something. I'm tired, I had a tired day, so let me have a beer. So, at that time, not looking down on that person is equally important. We may be in knowledge, but the Sangha that they are keeping makes them do what they do. If you look, ordinary people who are going to offices in private companies. But if you look at the government sector, those who are working, they get money under the table. Then they can't take it home because if they are raided or something. So they go to other extremes of going to beer bars where there are bar girls dancing and all that. And they spend the money there and come home. So that lifestyle is completely different. But it is the Sangha they keep. It is the department in which they work that teaches them to do that. Now, all that time, it is for us to not look down upon them, but how we can make the quality of their life better. Suppose they were to fall ill, at that time, tell them gently, without being no aversion to them, no hatred for them. They are ignorant. When that hatred and anger is there, the aversion that we show with our own family members, relatives, oh, he's so ignorant, how much you tell them they don't want to come on the path, then that relationships break. Then you can never bring him on the path.
Hari Om. Hari Om, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I want to share a little bit of what I think. See, there was in the beginning, it says, particularly I'm talking about Atma bodha with reference to what all has been discussed, like, can we suggest people to read Atma Bodha? We know that they are suffering, but they don't know what someone was saying. But here, it does not, okay, you can suggest and all that, but what says here is Atma Bodha suggests the subject dealt with, and the word mumukshu, one with a burning aspiration for liberation, suggests that the object aimed at is the emancipation of the individual from all his sense of bondage, the four qualifications. So these things. And it says that this particular text is for those who have that kind of a burning desire, which means particularly Atma Bodha is for someone who is already at one stage. Like in a staircase, he has already reached the first level or second level, whatever, there is some level. And if we have to suggest to someone who have zero into this, I believe instead of suggesting Atma Bodha, we can sit to, if it is our own family members, the wife, the husband, the children, we can say, shall we sit and read something interesting and start with the Ramayana, not the very lengthy ones like 3,000, 5,000 pages Ramayana, which has every tiny detail, but the abridged version of 120, 200 pages, like Balarama, for Balarama, like in Chinmaya, we have Balarama. For children, it's by Swami Chinmayananda, in a very lucid language. The way the language he uses here in Atma Bodha is somewhere top. He's a postgraduate he was a postgraduate in literature. He was a journalist. His language it can be too high for the highly linguistic people, or even for the small kids. He brings it down. There is a book called I Love You, compilation of his letters. Brilliant for kids and even for people like us. Like that, we can go down to that kind of a thing. Ramayana is for the family. Always Ramayana is a book for the family, how the family has to live, talk to each other, and respect each other. Okay. And Mahabharata is how to deal with the society. These are the two things we always should remember. If someone who is zero into spirituality, like someone was saying in the group just now, that the husband is like the children, it might take next 10 years. That was the comment I heard. It need not take next 10 years for the children to get into the path. What we can do is bring them into spirituality, play just ordinary game like snake and ladder. I'm not joking, snake and ladder, carom board, chess, or whatever little family game which we don't need to go out, sit at the table, and while having a talk, we can play a game. In that, assuming you do in the carom board, for example, or in the chess, you made a good move, and your child is thinking, then sometimes at some point they will say, "Wow, mama or dad, like mother or father, whoever is playing with them, they'll say, wow, this move is very good." Then you can say, you know the trick, how I get this move? I'll tell you a little later. Let us finish the game. Then when you tell, no, when you have real focus, you will get the right move. The mind should be cool. You should never get tense. Like that. How to keep mind cool? Now we need to read a nice story which keeps the mind cool. You should not say, "Oh, you do Bhajagovindam, or you do this, you do a shloka, you read the Bhagavad Gita." Then we can introduce the children, even the adults, into something like Ramayana. Shall we read this? It's a nice story. Don't simply say Rama, Vishnu, Avatar. That comes later. Somewhere in the second half, you can say, there used to be a King Rama, blah, 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 and start off. Then slowly, when you are, don't hurry up and rush up. Ramayana, 2 pages per day also is beautiful. You can get them into the path in this way, not picking up directly. And Atma bodha, I have gone through Atma bodha. We had a Chinmaya class, Chinmaya adult study group in Atma bodha. It ran for months, and the depth to which it takes you and the heights of thinking to which it takes you is simply unparalleled and unbelievable. Every text of Adi Shankara is like that. Every scripture of it. So this is how we need to bring, particularly the children, the next generation. They are very smart, very brainy, and everything they question why. We should be in a position to answer the why. Swami Chinmayananda, not only now, some 40, 50 years ago, in a witty way, almost in every lecture, he used to say, ask why. Doubt everything. Doubt means not really with a crooked thought. He says, when a Swami is talking, longer the beard of the Swami, greater should be your doubt in what he is talking. In a witty way, he used to make the audiences laugh. And he says, the Hinduism has flourished only by seeking, not blindly saying this one particular book covers my culture and every word is to be followed. If you don't follow, you are going to die. It is not the way Hinduism is. That is why he always used to say, I ask a Christian, what is your book? He says the Bible. I ask a Muslim, what is your book? He says the Quran. You ask a Hindu, which is your religious book? This guy says, welcome to my library. That's how with no disrespect to anyone, but that is how our way of life has, emulated itself, elevated itself, like minute by minute, and century by century, millennia by millennia. That is how this has evolved. So that richness, because you pick up where a religion is talking about medicine, you have Ayurveda. So every aspect is touched in this particular culture. Such a rich culture, we should not let it just slip off the hand. So bring the children in a smart way, not in a hard way. Working hard is different. Working smart is actually important. And again, like there was a talk about someone was saying the husband works hard for 10 hours in the office. He comes home and then you suddenly talk to him about spirituality and all that. He might not. Yes, very right. If the wife is a homemaker or even not a homemaker, or the husband is in spirituality, wife is not, or vice versa, whatever. The one who is into it, when the one who is not into it, when he or she comes home, the environment at home should be so calming and soothing. It does not mean that welcome him or her with a garland of flowers and put spray and scent. No, it should be nice, spick and span, tidy, with some nice soothing music playing somewhere in a corner of the house. The guy or the lady who comes in, the moment you step into the house, into the home, really I came home. If that kind of a feeling comes, then the other person can slowly, sink in like osmosis, no? We know the process of osmosis. From higher concentrated to the lower concentrated, it passes through a semi-permeable membrane. In the same way, it should slowly permeate. It is not like a flow of water or a jet pipe. You put a big thing and all the dust will get suddenly cleaned up. No. Then this person who is disturbed, who is not into the spirituality, will think, okay, this is how this person is there, even if it is your own spouse. This is how this person is having his balance and calmness in mind. What is he or she doing? Kind of slowly they will observe even without your telling. What did you do today? And okay, I was just reading this book and playing this small music and I felt nice. That's it. Then if the next question comes, what is that book? I'll share a bit of it. Say one sentence. This sentence I studied and it was nice. That sentence can be not a shloka. that lift yourself by yourself. That is the meaning of this. Uddare Atmanatmana. If you are the reading the Bhagavad Gita at that time. Atmaivar Atmana Bandhu. Be like Gangaji. Gangaji doesn't stop when a big rock or mountain comes to her. She picks up, she just turns around and continues with her path. It does not complain on the mountain, it doesn't do anything. She doesn't do anything. Like that. That kind of a thing. Those kind of small techniques we have to follow, particularly with the children, Then certainly things will go nicely. Brahma was saying about from the childhood, are we putting them into Balavihar, Balavika? I know a family who did not bring the children to India for 10 years, or even if they were in US. Obviously, people in US, they can't come for, like how we pop into India. Like, we go 2-3 times a year also in the Gulf. We just pop up, jump into a flight and go because we are 3-4 hours away. Coming back to this, that family was sad that their children did not pick up the Indian culture. They are born American. They are born and brought up there. Then I just put a question. Okay, did you bring your kids to India? When was the last time? They gave me some year, which was 10 or 11 years ago, and that the children were toddlers, 1 or 2 years, 3 years old. Oh, I see. Okay, in the US, did you put them into either Balavihar? Balavihar is Chinmaya, or Bala Vikas. Bala Vikas is Satyasai group. They do. One of these things you do. No, we did not do. Okay. Every week, every Saturday or every Sunday, do you take them to a temple? Or do you celebrate festivals at home? Do you tell them about the festival? And no, we really don't do all that, I say. Then at one point of time, my mercury shot up. And not harshly, but I said, you did not do anything and you didn't even open the book and you want that person to be a professor. How will that happen, Amma? You should have done something. At least now put them into the boy was already a teenager. Put them at least into Chick, the Chinmaya Yuva Kendra. They will pick up something. And later on, even that, I don't know whether they did or not. This is Manava Prayatnam has to be there. Like, I'll conclude by saying one thing. A person was praying to God, saying, oh God, I want lottery prize. I want the prize in the lottery. He was praying daily. God also said, this fellow's prayer is very sincere, but um, he's just pulling me to him. So he appears and says, oh, Bhakta, what do you want? He says, God, I want prize in the lottery, first prize in the lottery. God says, Tathastu, and he goes off. And after a few days, after lottery results are out, this man jumps and says, God, you said Tathastu. It did not happen. I did not get a prize. Then God says, how can it be? My Tathastu will never go waste. And he comes and says, okay, what is your lottery ticket number? Then the man says, Lord, I did not buy a ticket. He says, what? You don't buy a ticket and you want a prize. How will you get it? You are such a stupid fellow. And God vanishes. He goes off. Like that, you don't buy a ticket and you want the first prize. How is it possible? In the same way, we should also do some mild, nice trick. Bring some nice family game or something into that. And then imbibe spirituality into the children. Otherwise, it will be tough. A small plant, you can put a stick as a support and guide and harness the direction in which it has to grow. Suppose it becomes a tree with a huge trunk and the tree grows in a zigzag shape. Can you put a stick and straighten it up at that stage? No. In the same way for the children also. After their character hardens and solidifies, it's really difficult to mend them. That is what I want to say, mainly in focus with children. Hari Om.
Thank you much for that sharing, Prem. It is 6:30 now. So we'll conclude here and we'll continue tomorrow. Very good sharing. But let's not forget that Atma bodha is for the seeker. What all we have shared is how we can get our family members and friends onto the path. But let's not forget that we are here in this life and we have to realize the ultimate goal, right? So let's not relegate that. As much as we have to take care of family and friends, we have to, of course, take care of ourselves.
Most important.
Yeah, like even in the flight, they say first you get the oxygen and then you help your whoever else. So we have to make sure we are strong within, and we have started clearing up the mental dust. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Gurudev. I know we're beyond time, but I will just play Maya Panchakam.
निरुपमनित्यनिरंशकेऽप्यखण्डे मयि चिति सर्वविकल्पनादिशून्ये घटयति जगदीश जीवभेदम् त्वघटितघटना पटीयसी माया त्वघटितघटना पटीयसी माया श्रुतिशतनिगमान्तशोधकानपि अहह धनादिनिदर्शनेन सद्यः कलुषयति चतुष्पदाद्यभिन्ना न घटितघटना पडीयसी माया सुखचिदखण्डविबोधमद्वितीयम् वियदनलादिविनिर्मित्ते नियोज्य भ्रमयति भवसागरे नितान्तम् त्वघटितघटना पटीयसी माया अपगतगुणवर्णजातिभेदे सुखचितिविप्रविडाद्यहङ्कृतिं च स्फुटयति सुतदारकेहमोहम् त्वघटितघटना पटीयसी माया विधिहरिहरविभेदमप्यखण्डे बत विरचय्य बुधानपि प्रकामम् भ्रमयति हरिहरविभेदभावान् घटितघटना पटीयसी माया त्वघटितघटना पटीयसी माया